an amazing thing opened up in our relationship because I was so anxiously attached. I was a fixer. And so when we would get in any type of disagreement, I would immediately want to fix it. I would immediately apologize, take all the blame. And so in my head, I was kind of like, this guy never apologizes. But what I learned is that if I just gave some space, he would apologize. He would take responsibility for his part. And then we could actually have a real discussion about what happened, how to avoid it, some solutions. And it was amazing.
To the podcast, and welcome back to another episode of Sit Around the Fire. I am here with Monica Tanner. Monica is an RLT trained relationship coach, and she is the host of the Secrets of Happily Ever After podcast. She works to transform marriages with simple communication, connection, conflict resolution, and a commitment to strategies. Her mission is to lower the divorce rate and improve overall marital satisfaction. Through her engaging podcast and her new book, Bad Marriage Advice, she brings expert guidance that has impacted thousands of couples by helping them to ditch resentment and roommate syndrome and get back to living their happy ever after and enjoy all the goodness that comes with relationships. People, this one is for you. If you're in a relationship, you know someone who is, listen up. There's incredible advice headed your way. Well, welcome to the show, Monica. I'm so excited to have you here and connect with you and really get the message out to our listeners about what you're passionate about and the work that you're doing. And so welcome into the show.
Thank you, Ashley, for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, of course. Well, let's start with the grand old question that I like to start with, and then we'll introduce you. But to that couple or individual who maybe is in a relationship that's listening to the episode today, what's your biggest lesson or takeaway that you hope they will walk away with?
Oh, this is awesome at the beginning of the episode. I think that the biggest hope or takeaway that I would want your listeners to get out of this interview is just that being able to ask for help, especially when it comes to your long-term committed relationship, is a sign of courage and strength and commitment. And so, if you find yourself in a spot where, you are struggling with something, you're having a hard time talking about a specific issue, if you're not happy in your relationship, in any other realm of life, there's no stigma, right? If you want help with your physical fitness or with your business or your financials, there's no stigma around asking for help. Like everybody's like, good job hiring that trainer. Like that was or that coach or whatever, right? It's such a great idea. But for some reason, when it comes to our marriages or interpersonal relationships, we have this idea that like, oh, I don't know, like I don't want to admit that there's a problem. And really what a good coach or therapist will do is show you what you can't see. And so because we are in our relationships, we're in a dynamic. I always say you can't see the label from the inside of the bottle. And so what a good coach is going to help you do is just see the dynamic, your impact on your partner that you can't see because you're in it, you're living it. And so, I would say, if you want things to be better, then have the courage and commitment to reach out.
Awesome. Yeah, there's so much what we can circle back to and unpack with all that, because I love where you're coming at with the stigma behind asking for it when it comes to your relationship. And yeah, love to dive in and explore more of that with you. But in the meantime, the people need to know who you are and what you're about first. So give us the info, tell us all the things about who you are and some of
Yeah.
the work that you're doing.
Yeah. So I am from Texas, born and raised, graduated from the University of Texas at Austin. Go Longhorns. Met my husband there. We've been married for 23 years. He's such an amazing man. And we have four children together, the oldest of whom got married on our 23rd wedding anniversary. So we share an anniversary, which is so fun. And I have a
Yes.
daughter who has graduated from high school and is serving a mission. And then I have another daughter in high school and a son in middle school. So we have two who've grown, two still at home. We're just in that middle of empty nesting stage, which I get a lot of couples who get to this stage and they're like, we've raised our kids, we've done the things we need to do. We're not sure if we like each other anymore. Do we want to, stay and fix this, or do we want to just live the last third of our lives with somebody different? So I do get a lot of clients in the same stage of life that I'm in. It is a hard stage because our parents are, getting older and starting to need a lot more from us. Our kids are starting to move out. Our roles are kind of changing. There's a lot of transition, and there's medical issues and things like hormonal shifts. So it is a difficult time of life. And so being able to lean on a good friendship that you've created with your partner is really important. And so I think a lot of couples find themselves in a little bit of crisis when they're facing so many challenges and so many transitions if they haven't really established that deep emotional friendship with their spouse.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I hear you talk, is this whole concept around identity and
Yes.
how we often very much identify with our relationships. And when seasons of life change and what that looks like, and suddenly things look very different, we get lost in like being so heavily attached to that.
Yeah. And I mean, just for me, I know at the end of it, like some days are just challenging. Like some days are hard. you know, I'll have like a difficult day with my kids, or I just really worked hard on something that didn't pan out, or, my mother-in-law who suffers from dementia is here, and that's very taxing on me. And so just to be able to lay down at night next to somebody that I know loves me and to be able to say, man, today was hard, and to just, hold each other and to be able to share those difficult parts, or on the flip side, when my book got to number one bestseller, right? To be able to lay down next to the person I love more than anyone in the world and be like, I did it. Like I
Mhm.
did the thing that I was working so hard to do. So to be able to share those ups and downs and parts of life with somebody who loves you unconditionally. I mean, for me, I spent so much of the beginning of our marriage worried that if I wasn't perfect, if I showed any flaws or weaknesses, or, if I didn't perform very well, that my husband would leave, or, get bored, or, something like that. And so it being able to create a relationship that you feel very safe in, that you can share the good parts and the bad parts. And, this morning I laughed on the way to the gym. I like let out a big burp, and my husband was teasing me. He's like, I thought you never burped. And I'm like, oh yeah. I'll
That's
let one
awesome.
rip. But just to know that he's my buddy, and like, we see each other at our best and at our worst, and we take the good with the bad and everything in between. So, um, it's something special.
Yeah, absolutely. I know before we started recording, we were kind of talking about attachment styles and addressing that in the conversation today. And this might be a good spot for that to happen because
Yeah.
we're talking about performing and living up to an expectation or fear around being ourselves or coming into the relationship with no masks on. And I wonder if you can give us your perspective, speak to this idea around attachment styles and how like the that really drives our behaviors and the sense of belonging and feeling loved and accepted, and how that shows up in the context of a relationship.
Yeah, well, attachment theory is huge, and there's so much that goes into it, but really there's three or four main attachment styles. The first is secure attachment style, whereas you're securely attached. You know that there's enough love in the world to go around. You're not super concerned about anyone withdrawing love. You're just you're just it's a pretty healthy, stable place to be in. My husband was raised in a really great nuclear family. He came into the marriage very securely attached. So there's a lot of benefits to that, but part of, the downfall or non-benefit or whatever, was that he didn't understand where I was coming from. Because to him, like, why would you be freaked out right now? Like, what is actually concerning you? To me, or to him, I was very reactive for no reason, right? He couldn't understand it. So it took a lot of time for me to explain my anxious attachment to him. So I came into the marriage very anxiously attached. I'd had a lot of loss in my life. My parents were divorced. My mom, for a period of years, lived far away. I had a difficult relationship with my stepmother, eventually got kicked out of the house. And so for me, I had a very anxious attachment. I thought I had to prove that I was lovable, right? I had to earn it by being perfect, and I couldn't show any signs of weakness, or otherwise I was very afraid or anxious that love would be withdrawn from me. And so I would, yeah, in my husband's eyes, I would hugely overreact to if we were getting in a disagreement or something felt off, or, I didn't understand the situation. I would immediately go to this anxious place of, oh my gosh, I'm doing something wrong. I'm going to lose everything. Who's going to love me? And so, yeah, so a lot of times an anxious will marry a securely attached or an avoidant attachment, which is also very difficult. Now, avoidant attachment is somebody who really is conflict avoidant. They don't, their protection or answer to, is there enough love here, is, I'm not going to stick around to find out. Like, I am
Mm-hmm.
going to distance myself from this as far as I possibly can, because I don't want to be in a situation where love could be withdrawn from me. So I am going to get out of here so that I don't have to face any difficulty. And then you have anxious avoidant attachment, which is just kind of a blend of the last two, right? So those are the four big major attachment. And nobody, like, I don't want anyone to blame themselves for their attachment style. It's just how you were raised, what you experienced growing up. It's just kind of what you were handed, and it's kind of like the hand that you were dealt in life. The good news is that we can learn how to become securely attached. But for my husband and I, the big challenge was for me to be able to explain to my husband what it's like to feel anxious attachment, right? So he was
Mm-hmm.
just like, what are you freaking out about? Like, what is the problem here, right? And so finally, I had to just get real vulnerable and transparent of like, listen, when you walk out, when we're in the middle of an argument, or you go to sleep and we're not agreeing about something, or I feel in that moment abandoned. I feel like you don't care about me, that you don't want to make things right, that it doesn't matter to you that I'm upset, and that you're going to wake up one morning and just be like, I'm out of here. This is way too much work, right? All of that gets triggered inside of me when you do something that to you is just like makes sense, like we don't agree, or this is getting heated, or so to you, you're like, I'm just gonna go cool off, or I'm just gonna go to sleep, or I'm gonna whatever, and I'm like so panicky. And so once he understood that, I could start making real requests around how he could help me feel better. Not that he was going to heal me or fix me or give me the things that I needed, but for example, in the book, I talk about this advice of don't go to bed angry, right? We were given that advice and I held very tightly to it. And so if we were not in agreement on something, he would just roll over and go to sleep. And I would be like a mess. I would be like, I need to wake him up. I need to journal. I'm crying. I'm fearing the end of our relationship. And so once I explained to him what happened inside of me, what I was able to do was ask him for what I needed, which is basically for him to say something like, "Hey, listen, we're not agreeing, I'm not happy, but I love you and I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to go to sleep now because I don't
Hmm.
have the bandwidth to discuss this with you anymore right now, but we will return to it in the morning, right? Some version of that, which he would start just saying, I'm not going anywhere, but I'm really tired. I got to get some sleep, right? And
Right. Yeah.
that gave me enough comfort to be able to calm my own nervous system down to be like, okay. And what started happening when I would basically accept that invitation to go to sleep, even though we hadn't like worked it all out, is what would happen is in the morning, he would always roll over and apologize. He would be he always wakes up first. Nobody always never anything's, but he usually wakes up first and he would roll over and he would just hold me in his arms and he'd be like, I'm so sorry I was grumpy last night, or I'm so sorry. Let's talk about this or whatever. And I was like, an amazing thing opened up in our relationship because I was so anxiously attached. I was a fixer. And so when we would get in any type of disagreement, I would immediately want to fix it. I would immediately apologize, take all the blame. And so in my head, I was kind of like, this guy never apologizes. But what I learned is that if I just gave some space, he would apologize. He would take responsibility for his part. And then we could actually have a real discussion about what happened, how to avoid it, some solutions. And it was amazing. And so, yeah, now 23 years later, I feel very securely attached to my relationship. That was a gift that we gave each other.
Yeah. I love that. As I hear you talk, I'm like, we're definitely like two peas in a pod. Because I definitely came in with more of an anxious
Yeah.
attachment into my relationship as well too. And I think the
And
power
it's
in what
definitely not your fault. It's not your fault. It's
no.
not something you could control. It's just something like now that you have that knowledge, it's like, how can I work with this?
Yes, yeah. Well, and the formula that you're kind of speaking to is something I work with a lot within the context of my own relationship, but also that I teach clients as well as this whole aspect of like, for one, you have to go internal and see what's actually going on in you of like, am I feeling tired? Am I feeling grumpy? Am I overwhelmed? Like, whatever it is, and then feel safe enough to communicate that in the context of what's going on, and then very clearly ask for what you need. Because so often I found, even in my own relationship, I would get so frustrated at my husband because he doesn't I'm like, why can't he just know what to do? Why can't he
Yeah.
just know how to respond? And it's that framework isn't even there. So being very clear about what I needed from him has allowed him to show up for me, but then also like be very aware of where I'm at. And I think there's a lot of power in taking accountability and responsibility for where we are and then
Mm.
working within the context of our relationship.
I love the way you phrase that. Like you were able to ask for what you needed so that he could show up for you, which is such a gift we give to our partners, is really like taking accountability and not judging ourselves for our needs. Like, man, I just need some reassurance right now that, you love me no matter what, right? Like, it's okay to need that or to want that, right? Like, I think we were told so much growing up that, if you have too many wants, people are just gonna go away, or like this not good to want all of these things. But the reality is that it's okay to have wants, and it's okay to make those wants known, and it's okay to teach your partner exactly how to show up for you. And sometimes they'll be able to do it, and sometimes they won't, and that's also okay. But making requests is such an important part of a healthy, thriving relationship.
Yes, absolutely. So where would you have people start? Let's say somebody who doesn't know much about attachment styles and wants to start to learn or how to work with this, because it is a very different way of operating in your relationship when you can start to understand this. So, where do you often suggest people start when they are working on this exploration of attachment styles?
Yeah, I think that there's some pretty fully developed quizzes online. I would just, Google attachment style quiz or what's my attachment style. and just start learning. It'll make a lot. The thing about attachment styles is they're very straightforward. Like they make a lot of sense. Like it's not hard to self-diagnose yourself and your attachment style. Like you'll start reading about it and you'll be like, oh yes, this is totally me, right? It's like they're very simple categories that you'll find yourself in. And once you learn your attachment style, whether it's secure, anxious, avoidant, or anxious avoidant, just start learning about it. Like, what are some needs of the avoidant attachment style? What are some ways to kind of challenge that attachment style? And, because each attachment style has a unique set of, kind of driving forces, needs, wants, those types of things. And like what I would really encourage you to do though is to not hold like blame or contempt for yourself. Whatever your attachment style is, have some compassion. Like learn about that attachment style, but also just get really curious about yourself and your upbringing, your experiences growing up, and just like be able to like hold one hand on your heart and one hand on your stomach right here and just be like, yes, of course, Monica, that makes sense that when somebody ghosts you or doesn't return your text, of course that hurts. Like, of course you feel that in your core. That makes sense. And it's okay. And I love you. And I'll always be here for you. And I will always return your texts, right? Like, just like have some compassion for that little boy or girl inside of you that feels that deeply, but also just like give yourself what whoever your caretaker was couldn't or wouldn't give you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like to think of it kind of taking responsibility for where you came from, but also not putting shame or
Right.
even like we've been
It's
using
a
the word
delicate
attachment a
place.
lot to it.
Yes, yes. Don't
Yeah,
get too attached to,
exactly.
yeah, and I think there's one of my dear friends and somebody that I do a lot of work with recently posted he posted it in like a group chat that we're all in, and it was a picture that he created with AI, and it was him holding the little boy inside of him. So,
Oh, cool.
he's a dad and he has this cute little 2-year-old boy, but he said, this is not a picture of me with my son. It's a picture of me with the younger version of myself. And he was just
Mm,
holding him. And I think it's so helpful to be able to really dial in that wounded, adapted child that's inside of us. Like a lot of times, people go through their entire life just kind of being managed by their adaptive child and they don't
mm,
do the work. And instead, what's so powerful is being able to look inside and see that adaptive child, that adaptive child is trying to protect you, even though they're doing it from such a young place, right? Like they might be throwing a 2-year-old temper tantrum, and that's what it looks like, the adult version of it, right? And we do so much of living out of that place. Instead, we could just be like, oh, what is it that you need? Right? Do you need a
mhm,
hug? Because I can give myself a really good hug. I can do this. I can go lay in my bed and just like wrap myself. I love my bed, right? Like whenever I need a hug in the middle of the day and there's no one around to give me a hug, I'm like, I just need to spend 2 minutes in my bed, right? And just
mhm.
feel the warmth and being surrounded in the safety of that place, right? You can give yourself everything that you need, but you have to be able to envision it like, okay, what does my little girl need right now? Like, what is it that I didn't get growing up that I can give myself now?
Yeah. Well, and part of the work that I like to do with people is this dismantling, I've called it, of like these old beliefs of where this
Yeah,
is
I like
coming
that
from.
word. Yeah.
So if this little girl inside of us feels like she's not loved or she's not good enough or she's not accepted,
And nobody listens
is
to her and she has to get
nobody
really
listens.
loud or yeah.
Yep. And it's people often get like shocked or it's a light bulb moment when tell them like, can you see how 5-year-old you is running your life right now? Like 5-year-old you is showing up in your relationships, like and really going in to do the work to heal and transform and get rid of that belief in telling her the truth is like, you are loved. Like, even though that wasn't maybe part of your narrative or your story in whatever way that looks like, is exactly what you're saying is you can do the work in the here and now to totally transform that. And your relationship is your greatest teacher. Like it's going to show you the things, the areas of
Yeah,
life
it
that are
really
like,
will.
"Eeh, that is a
Yeah.
sticky point."
The way that I think about that is we were wounded in relationship, and so we have to be healed in relationship. So you
Mm,
can do a lot of work on your own. I'm not, negating that in any way. Like, of course, as a single person, you do a lot of work around your childhood trauma and wounds, but you won't be triggered unless
mhm.
you're in relationship. And so all of that healing because all of the wounds were created in relationship, they have to be healed in relationship.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Let's let's circle back because I think this is important, especially for the audience that likes to tune in to the show, is this concept or idea around why is it so hard to ask for help when your relationship is like the issue or the thing is why, what have you seen or what's your takeaway as to why do you think this is so prevalent?
Hmm. I just think for generations before us, relationships were so private. And I think that was really challenging because you people didn't share about their relationship, and so everybody was kind of quietly struggling. And I remember for me when I had really bad postpartum after my second child, I I felt like I was a crazy person and I felt very alone and like nobody understood and like I felt like there was something very, very wrong with me until I started kind of reaching out, and so many women shared their experience with me that I wasn't alone, that they had experienced very similar things. And so I started to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not absolutely crazy. I'm not all alone on an island. I'm not, just, dysfunctional somehow, right? And so I think that's just now starting to happen in marriage and relationships is not that we want to share our private, most intimate, experiences with the world, but I do think it's so healing and it's so comforting to know that problems in relationships are just part of the deal. And asking for help is so healthy and so courageous and so, commitment bearing, right? Like if we can reach out and ask for help, A, we're going to understand that we're not alone. And B, that's a huge indication that you're courageous and you're committed. And so
Mhm.
I just think it's just been that way for so long. But I am so proud of this rising generation. I'm noticing that so many couples that are engaged are getting help before they even need help. I feel like newlyweds are starting to reach out and be like, "Oh, I'm noticing this pattern," and before the pattern gets super ingrained after 20 years, they're seeking help. So I think this new generation is definitely more resourced than our parents and grandparents were.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree totally. It's a new movement of actually like looking at things and talking about it and tapping into resources and help before things get like catastrophic, before we're like on the edge of complete falling
Well,
apart.
and you can't deal with things that you're not aware of. And so I think just learning that, it's part of the deal, really. Like, no matter how great your parents were or how perfect your childhood was, you're still growing up with some forms of trauma and some, false beliefs and ideas that are going to keep you stuck. And so, being able to address those and be aware of those gives you so much more power to be able to kind of write your own story. And so, yeah, I mean, I just think it's such a beautiful thing is It's funny because there's this I can't think of his name now, but he's a lawyer, he's a divorce lawyer, and he goes on all these podcasts and he talks about how few people can actually say that they love their partner, that they would choose their partner if they had the chance, that their partner is their best friend and their, biggest confidant. And he's like, very few people can say that. I feel like I can confidently say that, but it's not without work and effort. Like I've definitely put in a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of intention into creating the type of marriage that I want. And, my spouse has also met me there, even though it looks a lot different. Like my husband is not like, let's go to marriage therapy or anything like that. But he does care about me and the things that I care about. And so we've been able to create just this beautiful, wonderful life together. And so even if you have a resistant partner, there's definite ways to create something more meaningful, something more truthful, something more healthy, than our parents, I think, ever had access to.
Yes. That's one of the things I always encourage when I do work with couples is that both people need to also simultaneously be doing their own work, whatever that looks like, not just in the context of like it has to be therapy, but whatever that is because it's so important. Like you just have to be continuing to work on yourself individually and then like look at your marriage as another aspect of kind of who you are, what your story is about. But it's the most success I've seen in couples therapy is when people really go all in and choose to do that. Is like
Mhm.
as we're healing and growing and transforming the relationship, I'm also doing this work on myself, and it's just so like I look at it as a maintenance program, really. Like you
Yeah.
need that maintenance program, even when it's not like something terrible has happened and you're in that in the depths, is like you really have to just be invested that this is something that's important to us and we're going to do whatever means necessary to support that because it really is a partnership.
Yeah. And I think, you're not going to love your marriage on accident. Like you've got to be able to put the work and effort in. And that looks different for everyone. But everybody has their own story, their own way of getting there, their own challenges to overcome. But like I love people's personal stories even more than I love Hollywood movies, right? Like, you can watch a great love story and be moved and, inspired and all the things. But really, the actual people who do the work and like really write their own love stories is the most beautiful thing in the world to me.
Yes. Well, I'm curious to know, so out of your book, I know this might be a hard question, but
Are you gonna ask me
like,
my favorite?
yeah, well, or I mean, we
I'm
don't
like,
want to
that's like
discount
picking a
any
favorite
of the
child.
15, but let's say, let's choose or pick one that you think most people wouldn't have seen coming, I guess, is one that, or maybe like that really, that piece of advice that everybody gets that's like you've totally debunked and put a different spin on. Like I'm just curious to hear what you got out of those 15 that you think would be
Yeah,
cool to
there's
bring up.
so many good ones, but I think the one that really trips people up, like after years and years and years of marriage, is this idea that you have to learn to compromise. I think that's been passed down generation to generation to generation. And it really can leave people feeling very stuck and resentful and keeping score. And because if you do it without thinking about it, which most couples do, it's just like I give a little, you give a little, 50, we go 50-50. Like it's it's really hard to be thoughtful about that. It's like, where do you want to eat? Well, I want Mexican food. Well, I want Italian. So we're gonna go eat, have sushi. It's like nobody gets what they want in that scenario, or I only get half of what I want. And now you're keeping score. It's like you picked the restaurant last time, so it's my turn this time. I changed the diaper last time, it's your turn this time. It's like you're constantly feeling resentful because you didn't get what you want. And um, you're keeping score. So my solution to that, which is super, super simple, is this idea of collaboration. Now, a lot of people, when they first hear that, they're like, oh, that's just semantics. You're just using a different word, but it's very different. The process of collaboration is very intentional, and it means that I get really curious. And now, here's what most people don't do. They think they have a very strong opinion about something. They'll be like, well, I mean, uh, Chinese food is way better for you than whatever. And so I want to go have Chinese food. And then they don't get Chinese food and then they're frustrated, right? But like getting really curious, like, why do I feel this way about Chinese food? What is it about Chinese food that, maybe it's because that's my heritage. Maybe it's because that's what my parents predominantly fed us. Maybe it's what is it about my position that I feel so strongly about? And then you get really curious about, because you're probably, if you're disagreeing, it means your partner holds a different position than you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
most people don't take the time to think about what do I really value about my position? Why is it important to me? How did it become so important to me? And then get curious about their partner. Like, what's so important to them? Why is it so important to them? How did it become so important to them? So, like, a big scenario that I like to talk about is finances. Usually, we have very different money stories, right? I'm the spender in our relationship, and my husband is the saver. And so I used to get so offended when he was like, when he had a really hard time spending money on something. I'm like, why can't you spend money on me? Like, is it not like, do you not love me enough? Like, do I not deserve this? Why is it so hard for you? Until I started understanding my position about it, like what it meant to me, what I was making it mean, that like if we go out to a nice dinner, it's because, you value me in this way and da, da, da. So like this is what's important to me about this. And this is where his reservations come from. So not only do you get curious about what is my position, how does my partner's position differ, what are the meanings we're both giving to that, but also what are your reservations about that? What are my reservations about my partner's position? What are his reservations about my position? Now that you have all that on the table, not only do you have way more information than most people are operating by, but you also have so much more understanding. So now when my husband like has a hard time like pulling the trigger on a plane ticket or something, I don't go to like, oh, why is that so hard for you? And why, like, whatever, why do you make this so difficult? It's like, oh, I understand where all of your money stuff comes from. I get where you came from, how you were raised, what that meant to you growing up. And now I have so much more appreciation when he finally does pull the trigger. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like we've created. So when my husband and I travel, we travel a ton. And we've made a lot of collaborations, right? Not compromises, not like I win, you win. It's like we've collaborated. So now when we travel, we do it like with all the things that are important to me, sprinkled in with all of the things that are important to him. So, like, we'll go to these really fancy places, but we won't stay in super nice hotels. And we bring food with us. Like, we'll travel like in the airport or on a car trip with like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that we pack from home, and then we'll go to a really fancy dinner. Like, or it's like we've combined the best of what I brought to the relationship and the best of what he's brought to the relationship. And we've created this way to do things that's like our way. It's not right
Yes.
to anybody else. When other people travel with us, sometimes they make fun of us for like pulling out our PB&J at the airport, right? But like, it's what we do and we love it, right? And so it's okay for them to make fun of us. They have a different thing that they've created, or maybe they haven't. Maybe they're still compromising. Who knows? But I love what we've come up with just in any part of life, right? Our sex life, the way we travel, the way we parent, the way we make decisions. It's very collaborative. It's very much the best of me and the best of him put together to create like the Tanner way. So
Mm.
that's what I love about collaboration. So anytime I hear, it's usually some older couple that's like, you got marriage is 50-50. It's about learning to compromise. I always go, oh gosh, no, don't do that. There
Oh,
is a better way.
yeah. What a beautiful way of describing it and that deep understanding that you're saying. And it reminds me of the phrase, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? And
Hmm.
It's like real, that's the brilliant part of the understanding piece. And I also want to bring like extra attention light to what you said, as well as we figured out our own way. Like we
Mm.
figured out our own way. And I hear this a lot um, from people is this pressure that's coming from culture and society, especially like be it with social media and all the things of these perfect marriages, these perfect families that are showing up. And I had a client recently that was even talking about it. Is like, I just feel like I'm letting everybody down because I can't be this version of a wife or a mom or whoever. And I'm like explaining to her, like, it's not even real. Like, that what you're
There
seeing
is
isn't
no one
real.
right way.
No, but like I really just value what you said there was like you have to figure out your own way. And I would encourage people to really hear that because not everything that you see or hear or what you think you are being told, even in marriage advice, is the right way for the two of you and really investing in the two of you. So thank you for like really saying that so prophetically because it was very good for
Thank
everyone to
you.
hear.
Good. I feel like it's funny because I'm part of this group of like content creators and like last time we were all together, we talked about like what is the hill you will die on? Like what is the most important piece of information you just really want to get out there? And I had such a hard time. And everybody was like, collaboration over compromise, like that's your thing. And I was like, oh, it is. It is. Like I want everyone to learn how to collaborate because it's so important.
It is, yeah, and the you're totally spot on with the resentment because it does start to lead down that road, and I think it brings out I call it like the fawner, the people pleaser in us, that protective um nervous system state and that way of being is that's what ends up happening is you become a people pleaser and you lose your identity, you have trouble with your boundaries, like you just meld in
Yeah.
and you don't even know what you like anymore. Do you even like
Yeah.
Chinese
And you
food
just
anymore?
give
I
up
don't
the wrong
know.
things, right? You're not being
Yes.
intentional about like, okay, what are my real values around this? And what am I willing to bend on, right? Because you can have everything you've ever wanted. I think people like kind of roll their eyes at me when I say that sometimes, but you can have it all. Absolutely, you can. You just have to know what's most important to you.
Yes. Yeah, no, so valuable. Well, tell us all the things about like where people can connect with you and especially with your book out now too, is like how can people pick that up and get connected in with the work that you're doing? Tell us all the things.
Yeah, thank you so much. You can find anything you need to know about me on my website, which is my name, monicatanner.com. There you can be directed to my podcast, which is called Secrets of Happily Ever After. There's lots of free resources there. You can get my book, which is Bad Marriage Advice, or you could just go to the website, badmarriageadvice.com. So monicatanner.com or badmarriageadvice.com. You can also get the book on Amazon or anywhere where books are sold. So, it's pretty easy to find me. There's a lot of free resources on the website as well as how you can work with me.
Amazing. Yeah. So everyone go out and get Monica's book and dive into it because
Yes.
I can't wait to read all the things
It's
that you've
so
been told.
fun. It's so fun. And it's a really easy read. I try to make it very simple. There's not like super heavy concepts. Like you could read any chapter and be like, okay, I can make these changes right now.
Yes. Yeah. And it will make a difference. Absolutely. Yes. Well, thank you again so
Yeah,
much
thank
for
you,
taking the
Leslie.
time and the power of this conversation. And I know so many people are going to hear these things and the seeds will get planted and they'll start to make their changes and like have it all and live such an abundant life through their relationships. So thank you for the work you're doing and taking the time to speak to the audience. And it's just really great.
Thank you.
Isn't it just so great to talk about relationships? I just love it. I know you got so much out of today's episode, and there's so many nuggets to walk away from not going to bed angry to how to learn about your attachment styles, all of the good things that come with these beautiful dynamics of being in relationships. Really hope that you enjoyed this episode. We would love to hear from you. How are you enjoying the show? What would you like to hear about? Please, please subscribe, like, leave us a review. It's so helpful in moving our mission forward. Go out and have a great day, and we will see you on another episode of Sit Around the Fire.